Mọi
The
việc phải
gavel
làm theo cách
cracked
này.
like thunder
Anh
in the
biết hậu
hushed
quả nếu anh
courtroom,
từ chối mà.
but it was Asher's
Nhưng
voice
điều
that
này quá mạo
shattered the
hiểm cho tất cả
silencia
mọi người,
raw,
đặc biệt là anh.
unyielding cry that echoed off the marble walls. Your Honor, this isn't about labels. It's about a human being fighting for the right to simply exist. In that instant, millions tuned in via live broadcast, hearts pounding as the young lawyer from Ohio, now a force in New York City's legal trenches, laid bare the soul of justice. Back in a quiet suburb outside Cleveland, where the autumn leaves clung desperately to branches like unspoken regrets, Robert Harlan gripped the remote until his knuckles whitened. Staring at the screen where his son is boy, Asher stood tall, defending not just a client, but a truth Robert had buried deep in his chest for decades. It was 1992, the summer Asher turned 12, when the words first sliced through the air like a rusted blade. The Harlan family farm sprawled across the rolling hills of Geauga County, Ohio, a patchwork of cornfields and silos that smelled of earth and endless labor. Robert, a broad-shouldered mechanic with calluses etched into his palms like ancient runes, wiped grease from his brow and fixed his youngest son with a stare that could stop a tractor in its tracks. Asher had been caught lingering too long by the creek, sketching wildflowers in a notebook he'd hidden under his mattress. His slim frame perched on a rock with a daydreamy gaze that Robert mistook for idleness. "Boy," Robert growled, his voice gravelly from years of shouting over engine roars. "A man's got no time for frills. A man is a man tough, straight, and built for the work ahead. You hear me?" Asher nodded, 12 years old and already feeling the weight of that decree like a stone in his chest. His hazel eyes dropping to the dirt as if the ground might swallow the confusion blooming inside him. Those words became the invisible fence around Asher's world, a boundary he tested in secret whispers to the wind. Growing up in that farmhouse, with its creaking wooden floors and the perpetual hum of the old Frigidaire, Asher was the quiet one, the dreamer amid the clamor of his older brother, Jake, who wrestled pigs and dreamed of NASCAR, and their mother, Ellen, who baked pies with a smile that masked her own quiet aches. Ellen was the soft counterpoint to Robert's iron, a woman in her 40s with laugh lines that deepened when she read bedtime stories, her voice weaving tales of far-off places where boys could be anything. But even she deferred to Robert's edicts, especially after the mill closed and money grew as tight as the belts they cinched an extra notch. Asher learned early to bury his sketches, to mimic Jake's roughhousing, to laugh at the crude jokes swapped over dinner about sissies in the city. Yet in the hush of midnight, under the quilt his grandmother stitched, Asher would trace the curves of his own confusion with trembling fingers, wondering why his heart raced not for the cheerleaders at school, but for the way Tommy Riley's laugh lit up the bleachers like summer fireflies. By high school, the fence grew thorns. Asher blossomed into a lanky 16-year-old with a mop of dark hair that fell into his eyes, earning him spots on the debate team where his words could dance like fire sharp. Eloquent, untamed. But the hallways of Geauga High were a gauntlet of sideways glances and locker room taunts. "Harlan's got that fairy skip," the jocks would mutter, and Asher would clench his fists until his nails drew blood, forcing a grin that felt like glass in his throat. Home was no refuge. Robert's lessons hardened into sermons. One crisp October evening, as the family gathered around the TV for Monday Night Football, a news segment flickered on about that AIDS mess in San Francisco. Robert snorted, beer bottle midway to his lips. "Bunch of city fools playin' pretend. God made man and woman ain't no room for the rest." Ellen shushed him gently, but Asher felt the words burrow like splinters under his skin. He excused himself to the porch, where the chill air bit at his cheeks, and for the first time, he let the tears come hot, silent rivers that carved paths down his face as he stared at the stars, whispering to himself, "What if I'm one of them? Dad, what then?" The breaking point came in the spring of Asher's senior year. A humid afternoon when the air hung heavy with the scent of blooming lilacs and unspoken farewells. Tommy, really golden-haired, broad-shouldered Tommy, captain of the baseball team, had pulled him into the empty band room after practice. His breath warm against Asher's ear as he murmured, "I've been thinking about you, Ash. A lot." Their kiss was clumsy. A collision of stolen glances and pent-up longing that tasted of cherry gum and desperation. For those fleeting minutes, the world sharpened into focus, Tommy's hands tentative on Asher's waist. The distant echo of a trumpet warm-up. The thrill of being seen. Truly seen. But reality crashed in like a slammed door when Jake burst through, his face twisting from confusion to fury. "What the hell is this?" he bellowed, shoving Asher against the wall. The fight was brutal, fists and accusations flying until teachers pulled them apart, and the whispers spread like wildfire through the county. That night, the Harlan kitchen felt like a courtroom of its own. Robert loomed at the head of the table, his face a storm cloud, while Ellen wrung her hands in her apron, eyes pleading for mercy. Jake sat sullen, nursing a split lip, and Asher stood trembling, the taste of blood still metallic on his tongue. "I raised you better," Robert thundered, his voice cracking like dry timber. "A man is a man. Asher, this ain't right. It's a phase, or the devil's work. But it ends now." Asher's response was a whisper that cut deeper than any shout. "It's not a phase, Dad. It's me." The silence that followed was suffocating, broken only by Ellen's soft sob. Robert turned away, muttering about shame on the family name, and Asher fled to his room, packing a duffel with shaking hands. By dawn, he was gone, hitchhiking to Cleveland with $20 in his pocket and a heart fractured like the rearview mirror of a stranger's truck. College in Columbus was Asher's first breath of freedom. A sprawling campus where the Buckeye leaves turned gold like promises kept. At Ohio State, he majored in pre-law, channeling his pain into arguments that professors praised as incisive, empathetic. But freedom came laced with isolation. The coming-out stories he heard in dorm lounges felt worlds away from his own jagged edges. He dated tentatively a quiet artist named Micah who sketched him by lamplight. Their evenings filled with whispered dreams and the ache of what-ifs. Yet Asher carried Robert's echo like a shadow, flinching at mirrors that reflected not just his now confident stride, but the boy who'd once hidden notebooks. Summers brought him back to the farm, obligatory visits that stretched like taut wires. Robert's greetings were gruff silences, meals eaten with eyes on plates, while Ellen slipped him extra pie and notes that read, "He misses you." In his way. One evening, as fireflies danced in the yard, Robert finally spoke over the grill's sizzle. "You look good, son. City's treating you right." Asher nodded, throat tight, the unsaid hanging between them like smoke. It was progress, fragile as eggshell, but enough to plant a seed of hope in the parched soil of their bond. As graduation loomed in 2004, Asher stood at a crossroads, cap and gown heavy on his shoulders like the decisions they symbolized. New York College clerkship at a midtown firm specializing in civil rights. A city pulsing with diversity that both thrilled and terrified him. "It's time to build something real," he told Micah over a farewell coffee, their hands lingering too long across the table. Micah's eyes, soft brown pools of understanding, held no judgment, only the quiet pain of parting. "Go chase justice, Ash. But remember, it's not just case sits you." Asher boarded the Greyhound with a suitcase of books and a heart stitched with optimism. The skyline of Manhattan rising like a beacon as the bus crossed the state line. The firm was a whirlwind, long nights poring over precedents. Mentors who saw his fire and fanned it. He thrived, rising quickly to associate, his cases often centering on the marginalized immigration pleas. Discrimination suits that peeled back layers of societal scars. But New York was a forge, tempering Asher's resolve while exposing cracks. His first real heartbreak came with Javier, a fiery activist from the Bronx, all passion and protests, who taught Asher the rhythm of pride parades and the sting of public scrutiny. They marched together down Fifth Avenue, rain-slicked banners waving, chants of "love is love" drowning out the counter-protesters' jeers. Javier's laugh was a lifeline, his touch a reminder that desire wasn't deviance. Yet when marriage equality debates heated the airwaves in 2006, Javier's intensity turned inward. "We fight for scraps while they hoard the feast." He'd rage after a rally. And Asher, ever the mediator, would soothe with logic until the arguments frayed their bond. One winter night, amid the holiday lights of Washington Square, Javier confessed his wandering heart. "I love you, Ash, but this city's too big for just us." Asher let him go with a grace that masked the hollow ache, vowing silently to channel the loss into fiercer advocacy. Back home, the farm felt smaller, the fields whispering of time's relentless march. Robert had aged into his 50s, his once broad frame softened by desk work at the auto shop, his hands now more paper than piston. Ellen's letters bridged the miles, filled with updates, Jake's new baby girl, the county fair's blue ribbon pie. But Robert's calls were rare, clipped affairs about weather and oil prices, skirting the chasm. Then, in 2008, a bridge appeared unannounced. On a sweltering July weekend, Asher arrived for Ellen's birthday, the driveway crunching under his rental car's tires. Robert was at the grill, flipping burgers with mechanical precision. But his eyes, those steel blue eyes, flicked up with something softer than suspicion. "Heard you won that case downtown," he grunted, passing a plate. Asher froze, fork midway to mouth. It was a small victory, a pro bono win for a gay couple denied housing. But Robert's acknowledgement landed like rain on drought-cracked earth. "Yeah, Dad." Felt good. They ate in companionable quiet, the sizzle of meat a tentative dialogue. And for the first time, Asher glimpsed the man beneath the armor, a father wrestling his own ghosts. The years blurred into a tapestry of triumphs and trials. By 2012, Asher was a rising star, his name whispered in legal circles for dismantling biases in employment law. He mentored interns from underfunded schools, their stories mirroring his own hidden pains. Resilient sparks. Personally, stability arrived with Liam, a soft-spoken teacher from Brooklyn with a laugh like morning light and a patience that mended Asher's guarded heart. They built a life in a cozy Harlem brownstone, Sunday brunches with bagels, and the New York Times. Quiet evenings where Liam read poetry while Asher prepped briefs. Liam saw the boy in the man, coaxing out vulnerabilities with gentle questions. "What did it feel like? That first pride flag in your hand?" Asher would pause, the memory vivid, the silk against his palm. The crowd's roar a balm to old wounds. Yet even in love's harbor, storms brewed. Robert's health scare, that Faya heart episode that sidelined him for months, pulled Asher homeward. Hospital vigils became confessionals. Robert, pale against starched sheets, gripped his son's hand. "I was wrong, Ash. About a lot." The words were rasped, incomplete, but they cracked the dam. Asher wept then, not for the past, but for the future they might salvage. As 2015 dawned, the nation shifted on Obergefell v. Hodges, wedding bells ringing from sea to shining sea. Asher and Liam exchanged vows in a rooftop ceremony overlooking Central Park. Cherry blossoms confetti in the breeze. Robert flew in, suit starched and awkward, standing beside Ellen with misty eyes as Asher vowed, "In all the ways we are, and all the ways we grow." The reception was a blend of worlds, New York friends in vibrant attire mingling with Ohio kin in khakis. Jake toasting with unpracticed warmth. Later, under a canopy of stars, Robert pulled Asher aside. "Proud of you, son. More than I ever said." It was absolution. Imperfect but profound. The first full bloom of the seed planted years before. Yet acceptance, Asher learned, was a river sometimes calm, sometimes carving canyons. The post-wedding glow faded into the grind of a landmark case, representing a network of LGBTQ youth displaced by family rejections. Late nights bled into dawns. Depositions laced with heartbreak as teens recounted couches and shelters as homes. Liam anchored him, brewing coffee at 3 a.m. With a kiss to his temple, "You're their North Star, Ash." But the toll mounted. Asher's dreams turned restless. Haunted by echoes of his own expulsion, the duffel bag's weight, the highway's hum. Therapy became his quiet rebellion. Sessions in a sunlit office where he unpacked Robert's mantra like a relic. It wasn't hate, his counselor urged, but fear of a world he couldn't control. Asher nodded, the inside a key turning in a long-locked door. Professionally, doors swung wide. In 2017, Asher joined a boutique firm focused on gender identity rights. Just as bathroom bills rippled through state houses like poison vines. His first trans client, Relay's soft-spoken barista from Queens. Mid-transition and battling workplace harassment ignited a fire. Riley's eyes, framed by lashes still adjusting to hormones, held a quiet defiance that mirrored Asher's boyhood sketches. "I just want to pour coffee without the stairs," Riley said, voice steady despite the tremor. Asher dove in, building a case that wove personal testimonies with constitutional steel. The trial was a media maelstrom. Pundits dissected every angle, from traditional values to radical agendas. Asher faced down cross-examinations with the poise of a fencer, parrying barbs with facts and humanity. This isn't about politics. It's about dignity. Home became sanctuary amid the chaos. Liam proposed expanding their familia quiet talk over takeout Thai. Dreams of adoption dancing in the steam. Little feet pattering on these floors. Liam mused, and Asher's heart swelled. Visions of bedtime stories eclipsing old fears. They navigated the paperwork labyrinth. Home studies probing like gentle interrogations. Robert called more often now, his voice warmed by grandparental curiosity. "Tell me about this fostering thing. You two got the patience for sticky fingers." Laughter bridged the lines. Tentative jokes about city slicker dads. When they matched with Sophia, a wide-eyed 6-year-old with braids and a penchant for drawing unicorns. The Harlans converged in Harlem for the first visit. Robert knelt awkwardly to her level, offering a wooden truck carved in his garage for adventures. "Kiddo." Sophia's giggle was elixir, dissolving remnants of frost. But 2019 brought tempests. National headlines screamed of rollback threats, echoes of darker eras. Asher's firm took on Elena, a trans woman in her 40s from rural Pennsylvania, fired after a leaked photo from her transition celebration. Elena's story gutted him decades in the closet, emerging only to face exile. "I thought freedom meant peace," she confessed over coffee, her manicured nails tracing a scar from top surgery. Asher's defense was symphony and sword, expert witnesses on dysphoria's toll. Elena's unyielding poise on the stand. The verdict unanimous, victory aired live. A beacon amid division. Yet victory's afterglow soured when anonymous threats slithered into their mailbox, slurs scrawled on envelopes. Shadows lingering outside the brownstone. Liam's hand in Asher's tightened at night. Whispers of "we're safe," a mantra against fear. The pivot came unbidden, in the quiet of a Cleveland diner during a rare firm retreat. Robert, visiting for Jake's promotion, slid into the booth unannounced. His trucker's cap askew. Saw your face on the news last week, he said, stirring sugar into coffee with deliberate care. That woman Elena. You gave her a voice. Asher braced for the caveat. But Robert's gaze held steady. Reminded me of you. Fighting shadows. I get it now. Son. A person's a person, full stop. The words. Simple as farm soil. Unlocked floods. They talked for hours raw. Rambling about regrets. Redemptions. The boy by the creek and the man on the screen. Robert admitted his own youth. A hidden crush on a mill co-worker buried under machismo's boot. Feared it'd make me less, he said, voice thick. Asher reached across. Palm to palm. The callus is a map of shared journeys. As 2020 dawned with pandemic shadows, Asher's world contracted then expanded. Lockdowns turned the brownstone into a cocoon, virtual courtrooms. Sophia's virtual school. Liam's lesson plans scrawled on whiteboards. Robert drove cross-country for safety, bunking in their guest room. His snores a rumbling bass to their domestic symphony. Evenings became rituals poker games where Robert bluffed with Ohioan guile. Story hours where he spun yarns of farm follies. Sophia rapped on his knee. One night, as rain lashed the windows, Robert pulled out an old photo album. Yellowed pages chronicling Asher's life, baptismal gown. First bike. Debate trophies. You were always fighting for the underdog, he murmured. Even when it was you. Tears mingled with laughter. The album a bridge over chasms. The virus receded like a tide, leaving reshaped shores. By 2021, Asher's caseload swelled with post-quarantine reckonings, evictions hitting queer shelters hardest. Families fracturing under economic strain. He spearheaded a class action suit against a chain of clinics denying care to trans patients. Poring over medical journals by dawn's light, Elena became an ally. Her advocacy group co-counseling. Her laugh a reminder of resilience's ripple. You gave me wings, she told him at a strategy session. And Asher blushed, deflecting with jokes about bad coffee. Liam, ever the steady current, balanced the scales, parked picnics with Sophia, where she'd chase pigeons while they stole kisses on benches. Robert's visits lengthened into weeks. His garage, tinkering, spilling into family projects, a treehouse in the yard. Hammer strikes sinking with laughter. Yet beneath the harmony, fissures lingered. Jake's call in late summer cracked the facade, a family reunion planned. But whispers of old-timers uncomfortable with the city talk. Robert defended fiercely, my boy's a hero. Deal with it, but Asher felt the old thorn prick. He drove home alone. The interstate a ribbon of reflection. Arriving to cornfields whispering welcomes. The reunion was a tapestry of tensions, aunts clucking over potato salad. Uncles nursing beers with sidelong glances. Asher held court by the bonfire, sharing case snippets, sans jargon. His voice weaving empathy like thread. When a cousin cornered him, heard you're into that lifestyle stuff, Robert interjected. Arm around Asher's shoulders, he's into justice. And he's family. The firelight danced on faces softening. Barriers crumbling like ash. Professionally, the clinic case crested in a marathon trial. Virtual feeds beaming into homes nationwide. Asher's closing was poetry in motion. We've medicalized misery long enough. Let healing be holy, not a hurdle. The judge's gavel fell favorable. Cheers erupting in the war room. But elation soured with backlash, a viral clip twisted into memes. Doxing threats pinging Asher's phone. Liam fortified their digital walls. Robert offering gruff counsel. Ignore the noise. Son. Real men stand tall. The phrase. Repurposed. Healed old wounds. Sophia, sensing the storm, drew him to shield. Crayon superheroes with rainbows for capes. For Daddy Asher, she inscribed, and he pinned it to his briefcase. Talisman against the fray. 2022 brought blooms amid thorns. Liam and Asher formalized their adoption of Sophia. A courtroom ceremony intimate as vows renewed. Robert flew in again, dabbing eyes with a handkerchief as the judge pronounced them forever. Grandpa Bob. Sophia beamed, hugging his neck, and Robert melted, vowing wooden puzzles for her birthday. The firm promoted Asher to partner, his practice now a beacon for trans rights nationwide. Referrals poured in, a non-binary teen from Texas, an elder from Florida navigating Medicare mazes. Each story etched deeper his purpose, a mosaic of voices demanding volume. Personally, Liam's surprise getaway to the Finger Lakes tested their rhythmic cabin by the water. No Wi-Fi, just loons calling and stars unpolluted. They kayaked at dawn, paddles dipping in sync, sharing dreams deferred, a book on queer jurisprudence. Perhaps, or fostering more. We're a team, Liam said, toes entwined in the shallows. And Asher believed it. The water's lap a lullaby to doubts. Back in the city, Robert's health checkup revealed arthritis creeping in. A reminder of time's theft. Won't slow me, he declared over FaceTime, flexing gnarled fingers. But Asher heard the undercurrent, planning more visits, more stories to stockpile. The fulcrum tilted in autumn, with a case that would redefine everything. Marcus, a trans man in his late 20s from rural Ohio, familiar turf sued for assault after a bar brawl sparked by slurs. Marcus's deposition was a gut punch. I just wanted a beer, not a battle. His eyes, haunted yet hopeful, echoed Asher's Creekside boy. The defense painted him as aggressor, citing confusion over his presentation. Asher countered with forensics and fervor. But the real weapon was Marcus's testimony, raw, riveting, a mirror to suppressed selves. Courtroom tension peaked as the prosecutor sneered. A man is a man. Right. Robert's ghost invoked. Asher's rebuttal thundered. No, Your Honor. A person is a person brave enough to claim their truth. The verdict hung in the balance, deliberations stretching days into nights. Asher paced his office. Liam's texts beacons. Breathe. Love. You've built this. Robert called from the farm. Voice steady, whatever comes. You fought clean. When the jury foreman read, not guilty, the room erupted, Marcus collapsing into hugs. Tears salting cheers. News crews swarmed. The clip going viral. Asher's embrace of his client. Words of "you are enough" captured in eternity. Fame's double edge cut swift. Overnight, Asher became a symbol of PDS, praising his eloquence. Talk shows beckoning. He demurred, focusing on the quiet wins, pro bono clinics, school workshops demystifying gender. But the spotlight warmed old shadows. Trolls unearthed his coming out scandal, dredging Jake's punchline for clicks. Family texts buzzed with support. Ellen, ignore them. My brave boy. Jake, proud. Bro. For real. Robert's email was terse poetry. Saw the noise. Remember the creek. You're the man I couldn't be. Asher printed it, tucking into his wallet like armor. Holiday 2022 gathered the Harlans in Ohio. Snow blanketing the farm like forgiveness. Sophia romped with cousins, her laughter a clarion. Robert led a toast by the hearth, to Asher, defender of the overlooked, teacher of us all. Eyes met across the table. Histories harmonizing. Later, father and son walked the fields, boots crunching frost. Robert halting at the creek. Said some foolish things here, he admitted, skipping a stone that danced 4 times. Asher skipped one back. 5 skips strong. We both grew. Dad. The water carried their words downstream, toward healing horizons. 2023 unfolded as ascent. Asher keynote at national conferences. His speech, beyond binaries, justice as kinship, rippling through auditoriums. Liam launched a youth mentorship program, weaving education with empathy. Sophia thrived in second grade. Her drawings now legal briefs with unicorn judges. Robert retired from the shop, channeling energy into community volunteering at the local LGBTQ center. Awkward at first, then ardent. Told him about my lawyer's son. He'd boast to Asher, pride swelling like rising dough. The crescendo built subtly. A case simmering in the firm's pipeline, Lena, a trans attorney from Atlanta, mid-40s, suing her former firm for discriminatory firing post-transition. Lena was a Force Ivy League polish masking steel forged in Southern heat. Her story intertwined with Asher's closeted climbs. The terror of visibility. I hid to hustle. She confided over strategy lunches. Her voice a velvet blade. Now, I'm all in. The suit ballooned into a class action, representing dozens denied promotions for authenticity. Depositions dripped, drama executives squirming under scrutiny. Emails exposing biases like veins in marble. Media frenzy ignited when Discovery unearthed a bombshell, the firm's CEO, a vocal donor to anti-trans PACs, had quipped in a board meeting. A man is a man, hire accordingly. The echo chilled Asher, propelling him into overdrive. He coached Lena through mocks, their bond sibling deep. Liam hosted war room dinners, Sophia decorating folders with stars. Robert mailed care packages, homemade jerky, notes reading, fuel for the fight. Trial convened in a soaring federal courthouse. Summer sun gilding the windows like halos. Opening statements set the stage. Prosecution's dry legalese versus Asher's narrative fire. This isn't abstract. It's lives ledgered as liabilities. Witnesses paraded, colleagues attesting to Lena's brilliance. Experts dismantling myths. Crosses crackled. The CEO, slick in pinstripes, blustered. Diversity's fine, but cohesion matters. Asher's redirect was scalpel, cohesion through erasure. That's not unity. That's uniformity. Deliberations dragged into a humid week. The city a pressure cooker. Asher walked Central Park at midnight, Liam's hand grounding him. You've already won their hearts, Liam murmured. Robert FaceTimed from Ohio, channel that creek boy steady stream. The jury returned on a Thursday. Foreman rising, we find for the plaintiffs. Jubilation cascaded hugs. Tears. Lena's whoop echoing halls. Confetti fell in the press room. Flashes popping like fireworks. But the true denouement aired that evening. A special segment on CNN's primetime spotlight. Asher, tie loosened, defended Lena's victory with passion unscripted. This win isn't my night's for every soul who's whispered their truth into a void. Trans lives aren't debates. They're dignities. And today, we affirm that. His eyes, alight with conviction, pleaded across ether. To families watching, love isn't conditional. It's the only legacy that lasts. In Geauga County, Robert sat alone in his recliner. The farm quiet save for the TV's glow. Ellen was at bingo. Jake out with the kids. But Robert had tuned in deliberately. Remote idol in his lap. The screen filled with Asher, his son. 32 now. Voice resonant as a preacher's. Face etched with the same determination Robert once mistook for weakness. As Asher spoke of love's unconditionality, Robert's chest tightened. Memories flooding, the creek edict. The kitchen confrontation. The wedding toast. Tears traced his weathered cheeks. Unashamed. As pride's Swelita tidal wave washing clean the debris of decades. He rose, joints protesting, and dialed Asher's number. The ringtone a lifeline across states. Son, he said when the voice answered. Thick with emotion. I saw you. On the TV. Defending that woman Lena like she was your own. Pause. Breath steadying. You were right all along. A person's heart defines them, not some old fool's words. I'm proud. More than proud, I am grateful. For the man you became. Despite me. Asher's reply cracked. Joy and relief mingling. Dad. That's all I ever needed. They talked into the night. Words weaving a new tapestry, plans for Thanksgiving. Stories for Sophia. A future unfenced. In the days that followed, ripples spread. Robert shared the clip at the center, sparking dialogues over coffee. Asher's book deal materialized. Chapters charting paths from pain to purpose. Liam and Sophia planted a family garden, roots delving deep. And on a crisp October morning, back by the creek, Robert and Asher skipped stones together, 6 skips now. Endless possibilities arcing across the water. Life, they understood, wasn't linear triumph, but layered grace. The boy who dreamed by water. The father who learned to listen. The son who bridged divides. In the end, it wasn't about labels shed or battles won, but bonds reforgettender. Tenacious. Timeless. A man is a man, Robert thought, watching Asher laugh with Sophia downstream. But love makes us all more. The Harlan farm had always been a place of routines, where the rhythm of seasons dictated the day's planting in spring's promise, harvesting in autumn's bounty, enduring winter's stark lessons. But in the wake of that televised triumph, something shifted, subtle as the first thaw. Robert found himself lingering longer in the kitchen after breakfast, the newspaper folded but unread, his mind replaying Asher's words like a cherished reel. Ellen noticed, her hand brushing his as she cleared plates. He's given you a gift, Rob, she said softly, her eyes holding the wisdom of years. Robert nodded, the admission sticking like burrs. For so long, he'd measured manhood by muscle and silence. But Asher's life vibrant. Vocal challenged that ledger, inviting rewrite. Asher, meanwhile, navigated the victory's vortex. The firm buzzed with new clients. A waitlist snaking through inboxes. Each story a thread in the larger weave. He took on Kai, a young trans engineer from Seattle, battling patent denial over identity conflicts with corporate culture. Kai's enthusiasm was infectious, blueprints scribbled with flair. Dreams of sustainable tech undimmed by discrimination. I build bridges for a living, Kai quipped during prep, figuratively and literally. Help me cross this one. Asher grinned, the parallel hitting home. Their strategy sessions stretched late, fueled by takeout and tales. Kai's coming out at a family reunion, met with casseroles instead of condemnation, a contrast to Asher's flight. Liam anchored the chaos. His classroom tales a counterpoint to courtrooms. Kids today, he'd marvel over dinner. They're rewriting rules before they know them. Sophia, now 7, absorbed at osmosis like. Her school play casting her as a gender explorer in a skit about self-discovery. Asher beamed from the audience, Robert visiting for the performance. His applause thunderous. Backstage, Sophia hugged him tight. Did I make you proud? Grandpa. Robert knelt. Voice gruff, kiddo. You make the world brighter. Just like your dad's. The words, voluntary, sealed another layer of their evolving mosaic. Subplots wove in, Jake's arc, once shadowed by that bandroom brawl, now illuminated. Fatherhood had softened his edges. His daughter, Mia, 4 and fierce, peppered Asher with questions during visits. Uncle Ash, why do some boys like boys? Asher fielded with stories of colors and choices. Jake listening, then adding, because love's the best adventure. One evening, over backyard beers, Jake broached the past. I was a dumb kid. Punching shadows. Sorry doesn't cut it. But I'm learning. Asher clasped his shoulder. The gesture absolution. We're all still kids. Jake, just with more scars and stories. Robert's volunteerism deepened, the center's game nights becoming his ritual. He bonded with elders like Harold, a trans veteran whose tales of Nam hid layers of lived duality. Hid my heart under dog tags. Harold shared over checkers. Robert listened, then shared his own the mill crush, the fear that festered into fences. My son taught me to tear him down, he said, and Harold nodded, eyes twinkling, better late than never. Harlan. Asher's book took shape in stolen hours. Chapters charting temporal tides, the 90s denial, millennial awakenings, Gen Z's bold reclamations. A pivotal section delved into Robert's transformation. Pseudonym protected but poignant. Redemption isn't erasure. Asher wrote, it's excavation digging through dirt to find the gold beneath. Publishers clamored, but Asher chose an indie press, prioritizing voice over volume. 2024 brought global echoes. The case inspiring international briefs consults from London to Lagos, where colonial legacies lingered like fog. Asher jetted for a UN panel. His keynote, Temporal Justice, Evolving Empathy, met with standing ovations. Jet-lagged homecomings were Liam's domain, baths drawn. Sophia's hugs waiting. Tell me the world's stories. She'd beg, and Asher spun them, mapping empathy's expanse. Challenges persisted. A reminder of unfinished work. A backlash bill in Ohio threatened trans youth care. Hitting close. Asher rallied a coalition. Robert testifying at hearings, his farmer's drawl steady. I raised a son who taught me love's not limited. Don't rob these kids of that lesson. The bill stalled. A small siege repelled. Victory tasted bittersweet. Asher confided in therapy. It's exhausting. Carrying the weight. His counsel nodded. But you're not alone anymore. Look how far the circle's grown. Family milestones mark the year. Sophia's baptism, not religious, but a promised circle in the park. Rings exchanged symbolizing chosen kin. Robert officiated. Voice cracking, we vow to see you, fully as you are, as you become. Tears flowed freely. The circle encompassing all, Ellen's embrace. Jake's whoops. Liam's steady gaze. Liam's mentorship bloomed into a nonprofit. Echoes of Equity. Partnering with Asher's firm for legal aid. Their first event, a youth summit in Harlem, drew hundreds. Sophia emceeing with pint-sized poise. Robert attended, mingling with teens. His stories of farm failures flipped to fables of perseverance. One girl, shy with newly affirmed pronouns, approached, your son's my hero. Robert beamed, he's ours all. Asher's reflections deepened in quiet moments, jogs along the Hudson, where the river's flow mirrored his arc. From fractured boy to fortified man, each phase a petal unfolding, denial's bud, coming out's bloom, advocacy's full flower. Robert's letters, penned in blocky script, chronicled parallel growth, gardens thriving, planted those rainbow seeds you sent. Colors everywhere. The year closed with a holiday fusion, Ohio farm festooned with lights. New York kin converging. Around the tree. Gifts unwrapped revealed heirlooms, a restored sketchbook for Asher. Filled with Robert's doodles, crude flowers by the creek. For the dreamer. The card read. Laughter rang. Carols sung off-key. The air thick with belonging. 2025 dawned with promise. The date October 23rd marking not just calendar, but culmination. Asher's book launched to acclaim. Readings packed with faces from his tapestry, Lena headlining a panel. Marcus signing copies. Proceeds funded scholarships. Ripples extending. Personally, Liam and Asher had a second adoption. Hearts open to another story. Robert's health held. His center role evolving to mentorship, guiding new volunteers through their own reckonings. A joint project with Asher, a documentary on rural queer resilience. Cameras capturing creekside confessions. Full circle. Robert quipped on set. Stone and hands even skips now. Eternity's echo. Sophia's 8th birthday was a bridge party. Ohio apples pieced with New York flair. Guests from all eras. As cake candles flickered, she wished aloud for everyone to feel seen. The room hushed. Then cheeried a vow renewed. In the end, the Harlan legacy wasn't land or law, but love's quiet revolution. From a man is a man to a heart is a home. Asher, watching Robert chase Sophia through fields, knew the journey's truth change comes not in thunder, but in persistent rain, carving canyons of compassion. And in those depths, they all thrived. Connected. Whole.